Hey, Facebook. Hey, just gonna wait a little bit for some of the YouTube people to come on. Let me see. Okay, got the YouTube. Got the YouTube going. Got the YouTube going. Someone just asked me how many words a second I type, which is hilarious because I know sometimes when you guys, I'm not talking yet, all you hear is because I re-listen to some of these things. Oh, okay, I type a lot. I type a lot. What sucked is in sixth grade, you only had one elective, and it was like typing or music. And I wanted to do music and choir, but I just knew at that time typing was super important, so I chose that. But I wish they just gave kids more options. But with the internet now, even if you can't take something at school, you can just do it on your own. So that is a beautiful thing. So who is watching with me? I got the YouTube up and I got my Facebook Live up. Um, let's see who we got. Christina, hey. Faith, hello from Philadelphia, says Faith. Joshua Hill says, I'm here. Good to see all four of you. Let me go on the Facebook page. So if you friended me on Facebook, I'm pretty liberal about that, but don't join unless you want to get woke up. Because I do not hold back on my Facebook page. And I don't have to, and I'm not going to. Because I feel there are some things people don't talk about that need to be said. All right, so we got three people. Who's watching on Facebook Live? Anybody tonight? Well, I guess 7:38 on a Monday night's just not the hot spot, isn't it? Okay, we're going to talk about highest hacking tonight. Who it's a good candidate for and who it's not a good candidate for. Okay. Everybody wants to talk about it, but we need to be real practical about what it means. All right. Hey, everybody. How are you? So I really wanted to get this out. I actually did an Instagram live. So if you saw the Instagram live, you don't have to rewatch this unless you want to because everyone's different. Like on Instagram, it's not that many people. It's like 10. So it's more intimate and people aren't like just shooting things out like they are on YouTube. But YouTube has more people generally that'll join in and they ask more questions. They're just more lit. So they all have a different energy. And because of the questions, it can go in different places. But I did do this on Instagram. So if you saw that, you don't have to tune into this. But yeah, let's talk about house hacking. You good in Facebook? Peace, peace. All right. Hey, Jeff. Nice to see you. Jeff and he's somebody I met through NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers. And at the time, it was just interesting. Like, I hadn't even gotten a job yet, or I did my first job out of college. We were the only ones that I knew talking about real estate investing. He was up in Connecticut and I was in Las Vegas. And we both have gone our different paths and started, but it's sort of cool to circle back with someone who, because when you just start, you need that conversation with someone else who gets it. And it's not always your immediate circle of friends, right? They don't all have the same level of ambition or hunger to go after things. So it was always nice to have Jeff Lameau because he was like that person I could just sort of, I don't know, go hard with, talk about stuff that no one else around me, my family members, none of my friends were really talking about. So, okay, it looks like it just stopped. So I'm going to pause a second. Okay. Okay, all right. It looks like I need to get a Wi-Fi booster for this office. But okay, so I talk to a lot of people with my strategy sessions, okay? So during the strategy sessions, people will call me and they get like a 30-minute session and we go over their questions, we build out a plan, a portfolio. And half the people on there definitely have the money to invest and that's why they're talking to me. They're like, I got 10,000, 15, 20, 30. What do I do? And we start that process of laying it out exactly how they can do it because everyone can. But then I get people with a little less money. They have 6,000, 5,000, 4,000, even 2,000. And they want to get started with rental properties. And that's when generally the house hacking conversation starts, especially if it's someone who has 6,000 but it took them a long time to get it, right? Now, The reason I brought this up is because it's a beautiful thing if you can do it. But from what I do, when I start talking to people, I realize that not everyone's set up for it. So there's some real practicalities on if you really want a house hack. And bigger than that, a way to low key house hack we're going to talk about at the end. And that's just buying your primary residence like it's an investment, but not the same level of house hacking. So let me go into this. House hacking is when someone buys a house as their primary residence with the intention of living in it for the required 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it might be for whatever grants or loans you get, and then renting it out. Now, the benefits are you can get into your own home for as low as 3.5% as a down payment. Okay, so 3.5% as a down payment, for $100,000 house, that's $3,500 down. And the goal was with the lower payments was to make it more affordable for people to get home ownership. Now there are pros and cons to FHA loans. Not everyone likes them. Sellers don't like them because they are to give people a break or a chance into housing. They tend to be a little bit more strict on making sure everything is up to date. And that it is a house that you could just basically move into and live without having to spend money on repairing it and maintenance. And they do that because, if you have a lower down payment, that's all you can come up with. They don't want you having a house that immediately needs thousands of dollars of repairs. So generally they can be a little bit more strict on making sure the seller fixes everything, which can be a problem. It can't, just depends on how you're selling your house, right? So yeah, it's 3.5% down. Now, with a conventional mortgage for an investment property, because it's an investment property, the banks say that there's higher risk. Because of the higher risk, they want you to show that you can put more money as a down payment. Okay, so when you put more money down as a down payment, they usually want 20%. And so say we find a $40,000 house. Side note, they exist. They're not hard to find. They might be hard for you to find, but I do this every day. So they're still out there. They still exist. It's not that big a deal. That's actually the easiest part of like what I help people with. So say you find a $40,000 house that's pretty in decent condition, move-in ready. Even if you do a down payment with a traditional mortgage, it's $8,000, right? And you'll still need to pay for closing costs, which can be anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 in this price range. So you're looking at $11,000 all in to get a mortgage on a $40,000 house, right? In addition to needing more money. So I usually recommend for my clients to have at least 10 to 15,000 because that can get you started and building a portfolio relatively quickly and not be stretched or over leveraged, right? So in the mortgage note will be like 300, 350, 400, just depends on what the location is. So but that $11,000 for some people is it's just a very long way away and they want to get started sooner. So I wanted to talk when I talk to people about house hacking and we go down to that level that not everyone is the best candidate for it. So we really need to start talking about who is ideal. So if you're on YouTube Live, can you chip in? I see 10 watching. I saw 3 people say hey. Facebook, feel free to leave comments as well. If you thought about house hacking or you know anything about it, just so I'm not talking into the ether. This is the quietest it's ever been. Maybe it's because it's Christmas. Christmas is coming up. Y'all out there shopping. Side note, I don't buy anyone presents. I usually just give the kids cash, but I'm not even doing that. I know it sounds mean, but I'll just give my daughter a present or two, but I'm just not into the gift giving. I'm into all the other stuff. And make sure you guys all go to your local Kwanzaa celebration. I went to mine here in Hampton, Virginia. The Hampton University Choir did so great. They lit the stage. It was amazing, So, hey, JT, I see you. Hey, Leela, or Lila Pearl. Oh, y'all starting to wake up. Hey, just doing it. All right, okay. So let's talk about practical requirements. Yes, so we want 10 to 15. We can get started on the 30 to 50K house thing, especially if you're using a traditional mortgage, but it's really far away. So let's talk about house hacking. In general, it's not, I'm going to say something that's not really politically correct, but since I don't employ anyone, it's sort of okay. So it's just the reality of what I go. Do you have kids? Right? Because uprooting isn't really a thing. The other thing is are you single or married? That's sort of like a really big thing. Are you young or old? Travel time to get to this stuff and your cash flow. All right. So you guys care about cash flow the most, but there's actual other practical considerations. But we'll talk about cash, but there's these other factors. When you're an established older person, it's harder to think of house hacking the way a younger person can. And the way I like to describe it is like when you're 25 and you move from apartment to apartment, which happens when you're young, you don't have expensive, nice things. You don't have expensive, heavy antique furniture because you can't afford it, right? Like the stuff you can put on the back of your Honda. You have like a cheap $50 desk or $65 desk from Walmart that you could throw out and just buy a new one. You got like a small little coffee table that's not worth much, or maybe you got off Craigslist for 25 bucks. But when you're younger, like it's definitely an easier thing to house hack, right? And move in. So like with FHA, you put 3.5% down. It's definitely cheaper on a $50,000 house to put 3.5% down than 20%, right? So it is an easier in. But you really need to understand, for some of us, it's not really practical to be moving around. So I know that they use house hacking as a way to get into real estate, but I think that there's other ways to do it that are a little bit more practical. So if you're someone who has like an so in do that twice in 1 year, that's $8,000, and you could have just saved that money and bought it. It's been just as much as a down payment. That's why it's like if it takes you that much to move, it's not. But I do notice when I talk to people and they're single or they're just like them and another person, and that's going to lead into the kid thing a little bit later. It is easier. They're like, no, it's just me and my husband. That's us. We can do this. We're just going to tough it out for a year. That's cool. But like you need to know that it is more flexible because for you, because you don't have so much equipment, you don't have so many items, it's not too expensive to move, it's light. And then that goes into the second consideration. Do you have kids? I sometimes talk to people who are young, middle, and older, and I do find that the people in the middle tend to have more families. And then my older people, their families and their kids are out of the house, and the younger people, they just don't have kids yet. And I find that it's better for them because they don't have that considerations. I know, like I said, I'm going to keep saying house hacking sounds so wonderful, but when you have 4 kids and they're in a good school district or not a good school district, I'm not really into, I don't know. Good school district. They said my brown and black school district was subpar, but like everyone I know who had academic ability went on to do whatever they wanted to do. So I'm not really into that good or bad thing. Sometimes it's like where there are minorities and where there aren't. But and guess which ones are bad? The ones with minorities. So that good school thing, you can throw that away sometimes. And so, but when you have kids and they're settled, it's like, do you even want to try to move a kid every 12 months? Like, it is hard work. They're not going to be paying attention, doing all this and that. They don't want to work. Like, it's not even that practical, let alone for the fact that they have friends, let alone for the fact that they are settled, and let alone for the fact that, like, they need some stability, right? So, house hacking is great, but when you have kids and a family, it's not the same. Now, of course, you can still do whatever you want. I'm just saying it's a lot harder for you than it is for my older clients I work with and my younger clients who do not have the children who are rooted. And if you have a kid who's under 5, that's a little bit better because they haven't gone to school yet. So there is a timing thing you got to take into consideration. When I talk to people about it, they're not always thinking that way. Another thing you want to think about is travel, right? So for some of the people, they're like, look, I like the idea of investing in a $60,000 duplex or triplex. And FYI, if you do house hack, try to get the multifamily if you can. But here's the consideration. How far is that multifamily in that price range from you? Okay? Because for some of you guys, it might be an hour away. It might be an hour and a half away. There's someone in the Facebook group who used to live in New York, but they moved down to Pennsylvania because they had rental properties there and built up a property management company. I think for all of his family members who purchased $30,000 properties after him. And so he manages them. And he moved down there so that he could just manage it because that's where he's building a second business outside of his full-time job. And one day he's going to leave the full-time job and do this full-time. And the reality is he decided to make that commitment so that he can commute an hour and a half each way. Now, I know I got some New Yorkers out there who are already commuting an hour and a half. We're not talking about you. Because, an hour and a half, you still paying $1,300 for a one bedroom. But there are some people where it's like if they want the house hacking, they'll have to drive, Now, one in 4 of my clients and 25% in the nation really do work remote now, so they can do that, right? And honestly, for me, the whole part about getting the rental properties was to one day be location independent, which I am now, right? Because I have multiple streams of income between the investing, the book, the this, the coaching, like all of these things are independent. So you can move anywhere, and that's definitely the goal for everyone out there. I hope passive income's the goal, even if it's multiple different streams of passive income. So yeah, I know that's definitely the goal, but like you really have to decide when I start talking about them, like how close are you to your job? How close can you get to there? Are you location independent? Because if you're not, it's okay. You just have to decide. Now, I work with someone in Memphis, and I'm like, you could throw a rock and get like a $60,000 house in Memphis, right? It's just a matter if you want to live in the neighborhood or not. And they're not all crazy bad, although some can be a little nerve wracking. They're not as bad as like white people make you think. No offense, but y'all are so scary. Y'all can just see minorities and just get scared. All right, it's not that serious. Although there are some spots, don't get me wrong. I look at the crime statistics, but there's some places in the South where like you don't have to travel all the way across town to get a low price property. It is right there in your neighborhood. So house hacking, especially when the kids aren't there, is a very, very easy solution. So it's just something to consider, right? There's some places where you don't have to commute an hour and a half to get that house, and other places where you do. And it's just a conversation. I know people who've definitely made that sacrifice. There's people who are like me. I tell people all the time, I was not built for corporate America. I'd go in there and I'd realize, I'm just going to be honest. I'm smarter than all of you guys. I wouldn't say this to them, but I had enough self-awareness not to do that. But I'm like, I'm smarter than all of you guys. I have more talent and potential, but I keep getting overlooked. I don't get trained well. Like, I'm literally here to just check a check mark, and it's obvious. I like saying what's on my mind. If things aren't going to work out, I'm going to say it. And in corporate America, that doesn't work. So people like me, and I just refuse to like not be myself. I just refuse. And so because of that, like I had a hunger to get out of the corporate America, like a hunger, like no, I refuse. And it was definitely like, I refuse to be a part of your system. The system in which I'm making 62 cents for every white male's $1, right? Generational wealth gap is not like an accident when that's occurring, and I'm making 38% less than my counterparts doing the exact same thing, right? So not only am I making less, but you also want me to act like you, and your culture is different. I don't like your culture. It's a culture where you don't say what's on your mind, and I don't think that lack of transparency is good for anyone other than the people who are already in charge. No, I don't like it. I don't want it, and I don't want your BS jokes. So for me, it was like a hunger, and there's a lot of people I worked with. There's a hunger too to make this happen regardless, and it's all about what's inside of you and how serious it is. But I was just like, I refuse, but I also had to eat, so let me go ahead and make this let me go get these real estate investing business going, you know what I mean? So definitely, like, you can do any of this. Like, I'm putting this out here as considerations. Like, you can do it, and if like that need inside of you is great enough, it's going to happen. But and I just said that just because I'm saying one is a better candidate than the other, I don't want you to lose all hope and inspiration. You can just decide, I'm willing to do that. And when I work with my clients, a lot of them, it's just like when you don't know what's happening, it's a little bit scarier than if someone goes, this is what's going to happen and how you're going to have to modify your activities for it. Can you do it? And it's just because it's when you're given a choice that the sacrifices are a lot easier to make than when you perceive you do not have a choice, or you jumped in and then had to find out later and it's something you're not comfortable with, right? So we just try to bridge that gap. And the last thing is your cash flow. So like I said, an FHA loan for the most part is 3.5% down. And I see, Leela, that you have a question, so I'll get to you right after this last point. 2 points, but don't worry, it's going to go fast. Oh, you need me in Detroit? All right. You get a group of people together. I can fly out there. I love Detroit. But I'm going to make everybody go out to karaoke with me afterwards, because that's my jam. So the last part's cash flow. Okay. Not like as far as the properties you're getting, because we can make cash flow. Like, that's the point of all this. What I'm talking about is how tight are you, right? Because FHA helps a little bit. They do have stricter standards for being an FHA approved house where it's pretty much ready to go, right? So that helps you a little bit. And I just want to show an example of myself of how it works. Like, if you have $4,000, $3,000 for the down payment, you should at least have that in your savings account for anything that might come up, be it your car, be it this or that. And if you don't, if you only have 2,000 and that's all, and it goes to the down payment, don't put yourself in that situation. It's really worth you waiting, right? And there are some people who are like that, and I've done some things myself. So I'm not saying this with judgment. I'm saying this was like, you're not quite there yet, but just a little bit more. So I like, when I bought my condo, it was like I put my down payment, it was like $3,500, and then it was a HUD home, the condo that I bought for 35,000. It was a HUD home, so they actually give you like $2,500. They incentivize the sale when it's a HUD home, so they'll help you with the closing costs, right? So you don't even have to give out that much money. But it was in really good, pretty decent condition. It needed some work, but like I could still live in it. And so, but I still had $5,000 left, right? Like in a different in a savings account, and then right, and then like I think I got a little unemployment. It was like $1,200. So between that, I was able to like make my repairs. That went towards the house, and with the unemployment, my mortgage was $350. Utilities and cable was like an extra $200 on top of that, like $550. So $1,200 was actually enough. And so I like to say, if when you put your down payment down, you have as much of the down payment and closing costs in your savings, you're pretty good. If you're making more than enough to cover all your expenses and save $500-$600 a month, you're pretty much in a good position. It's not the best, right? You want to save more than that, but that's actually pretty dang good. It'll pay for any repairs that might have to come up, any plumbers. Oh, I found this doesn't work, either DIYing it or paying to get it done, right? But like, we don't want to be too thin. And for some of you guys, you're like, duh, but it's not duh, because sometimes we just have to talk about who we're really talking about and just be open and honest that like, some people will tell you need $50,000 to invest. That's being crazy and obtuse. Like, you don't need that much, right? Like I said, I work with people who have 10 to 15,000, but like 2,000's too light, right? So we want to build that up to like whatever you paid in down payment and the closing costs. If that's 5,000, you have $5,000 in your savings, and that is going to be quite a bit. And two, you also want to make sure if you are tight with money and it just really takes you a long time, you can save like $200 a month. That is beautiful. I know people who love make $80,000 a year, and $200 a month is what they can afford after all the taxes and expenses, and daycare and childcare costs get added in. Like, they can save $200, so it's nothing to no judgment about it. But it's something where it's like, I don't know about walking into a house mortgage with everything that's coming into it's good without having that extra savings in place to get you through. The first year is when you're going to find out, oh, the roof is bad or this. You're not going to know all that. It doesn't matter. You're not going to pay $1,500 to get everything checked out. You're just not going to pay $350 for a roofer to get this checked. You're just not, right? I don't know one person who has or who has done that. So what's going to happen, you're going to get a basic inspection, and then as you live in it, you're going to find out all these little repairs that need to be done, and they're going to cost some money. So that's why you definitely need that safety net. But if all else fails, if it's easy to move, you don't have kids that are going to be uprooted, you don't mind the travel, or the travel doesn't matter because you're location independent, and you have the savings, then I think house hacking can work. But those are considerations that people just don't think about, that I wanted to bring to your just think about it, okay? And just make sure it aligns with what you're doing. And then the last thing I wanted to say is something that I heavily stress, but I'm going to keep coming back to this. Purchase your primary residence like it's an investment property. Outside of my first house that ended in foreclosure because I didn't know what I was doing, right? I didn't know. It was 2006 when I bought that. Boy, oh boy, a lot has changed in the last 13 years. But so that's when that happened, right? But since then, the house in Columbus, Ohio that I bought, the condo, when I bought my house in Charlottesville, each time I purchased pretty significantly below what I could afford. So say I could afford for the condo that was $35,000. Say I could afford $150,000. I found that one, right? The house in Charlottesville, I could afford $400,000. We bought $160,000, right? Like I cut in half what they said I was eligible for. And let me tell you what the benefit of that is. Each time, like the condo that I purchased for $35,000, like it's worth $80,000 now, right? The house in Charlottesville that we bought for $160,000, we sold for $295,000. Because at the end of the day, the one houses that are going to get the most appreciation, and I'm telling you this, unless you come from money, ignore me, but if you don't come from money, you need to do this. The houses that get the most appreciation are the ones that are at the bottom that were still like you were still comfortable to live in. There's some level that you're like, this isn't really my type, my hood, my people, right? But there is a level above it that's just fine. And the reality is, when people are looking for houses and they're first time homeowners, no one wants to pay $400,000. You know what I mean? But will they pay $300,000 for a house that I bought for $170,000? Yes, they will, because everything else is at the $385,000 level. So it's that lower price house that's always going to get that. You can shove it up when the prices are starting to rise. And not just that, like your mortgage, the mortgage was like less than $1,000. I paid way more than that, in multiple places that I've lived. So the reality is, those are the ones, based off my own experience, and just when you read around, those are the ones that get those really steep appreciation. And that's where you can live somewhere for 2 years, 3 years. 2 years in the condo in Ohio. I lived for, 1 year in the condo, 1.5 years in the condo in Ohio. And it was 4 years in the Charlottesville. And the Charlottesville, basically doubled, right? Like 80% increased, right? 4 years. So if you purchase your primary like an investment and it's not your forever home, most of these aren't, what happens is you're just sitting there paying the mortgage, which is less most times than buying an apartment. And if you bought really undervalued than what you can afford, you're more than likely when you sell going to get those double digit appreciation. And that's where you're going to have $80,000. That's where you're going to have $50,000 to play with, right? Like, it didn't just happen by accident, but we need to shift our minds and go purchase my primary like an investment. So you don't just have to house hack or buy an investment property to think like an investor. I do it on multiple levels, and like the abundance keeps coming in because of that, because I'm just not too good for stuff. Like, I'm constantly thinking how to maximize, minimize my expenses, maximize that. But if you do it with a home, that has been the one thing to give me like, when I sold my Baltimore home, $55,000, right? Like, that's the first time I had that sort of cash, right? To be able to do what I needed to do with. And buying in the lower price ranges, even if for your primary, is what gets you that. So if you come from money, ignore me. Even if you do come from money, some of your parents aren't really giving it to you. I really, really, really want you to take my words to heart. And that is a faster way with that 2, 3, 4 year turnaround to build wealth through your own house. Not even house hacking, but just buying it under market, buying it under value, buying for less than what you can afford. But strategically, not just go as low as you can, I'm telling you. And anyways, you guys know I'm a big proponent of moving, especially Black professionals, moving back into Black neighborhoods. You know I'm really big into that. So there's something to be said for going back to your communities versus fleeing. Because all we've gotten for fleeing those neighborhoods is, driving while Black, UPSing while Black, working while Black, what else? Breathing while Black, trying to go to your apartment. Like, honestly, I don't think the experiment's working for everybody. That's all I'm gonna say. So I think it's really good to go back anyways, which is basically what I did in each case. I'll get to any questions you guys had. So on YouTube, Lila Pearl says, I saw a duplex for $99,000. One unit has a tenant that pays $875. Cool, that's the mortgage. The other unit is empty. I think it would be a good house hacking opportunity. You are correct. Go get it before I do. I'm kidding. No, actually, that's a pretty good deal. If you can. And then, the down payment requirements are a little bit different. So, Joshua Hill says, dim office politics are for the birds. I don't know what you mean by that, but. All right. Cosmic wisdom. Ooh, I like that. Cosmic wisdom. Great to catch a live stream. Miss these vids. Oh, yeah, I'm going to try to do it. Last week I was gone for like a week and a half, but I was working on my audiobook, and I finally got that done. Right now it's at an editor's who is getting it ready for Audible. It's called ACX for Amazon. And because I swear I was going to do it myself, but my energy level just dropped. I was like, I don't feel like editing this stuff. And so I didn't do anything last week because it takes a lot from you energetically to write a book. It takes a lot from you energetically to audio phrase a book. It takes a lot. So I couldn't focus on anything else. But the good thing is I'm trying to get it to Audible. And so what'll happen if you buy the $5 Kindle book for like $4 more, you can get the audio version with Whisper Sync, which is what I'm trying to get. You have to pass their guidelines so that hopefully it's just a straight process and not a back and forth. But if you have Whisper Sync, as you follow along in the Kindle book, you can press a button for Whisper Sync if you do the upgrade. And it seamlessly goes from your book, your reading, to the narration. And so you're like, oh, well, let me get up and do something, but let me listen to it while I do the dishes. And then you hear the narration, then you go back and you can continue reading. So we're going to try to see to get that done. That's why I've been MIA for a little bit, because it took a lot. I swear it. Whew, I'm still recovering. Joshua Hill, so do you suggest not going above 250K when seeking that first home? Oh, man, that's a good question. um, for me personally, when I bought the home, I'm in like a beach area. I could have paid over 300 and some thousand and gotten right on the beach, right? Which is not a lot for like right on the beach, like a beautiful beach. So the option for me personally was there, and I was like, nope. And I bought something for 200,000, right? But it's like my dream house, so that's okay. It has like a yoga room. It's like 2,400 square feet. Like it's cool. It's like my dream house. So like it was worth going above like the 160. So personally, I don't think I can at this stage. There will become a stage 10 years from now in which it's easy to do, but like my portfolio is so big, it's easy to do. Not I'm stretching anything. So personally, I am not at this moment. Maybe the next house. But I plan on being here for a good 10 years. I mean, there's a beach. Hello. Um, so but for you, would I put myself on you? No, I'm saying I don't, because I just like keeping it low and I like the appreciation potential. Like already all the houses that were in that price range that were 200 are all gone. Now it's like 230, 240. I already have appreciation within 6 months of buying this place because I purchased undervalued. Like within 6 months, 200 went to 230. You cannot get another house in this price range, with like the amenities I have for less than 230 now, and I've only been here since July 31st, right? So, I mean, how can I compete with that? You can't compete with that when you're at the higher levels. The 600,000 house goes up to 610,000. You know what I mean? You don't have as many buyers for the $610,000 house as you do for the $200,000 house. Am I right? Am I right? Right? And so because you have more buyers at the lower price range, it's going to force the appreciation a lot faster than at the higher end. So I personally won't do it. You can make your own choice, but if I had to say you were asking me for advice, I'd be like, stay low if you can. And here's the deal. Sometimes people want to, like, at the end of the day, I would love a BMW. Like, that's my flash car. Like, I want everybody to see me. Like, yeah, I bought it, right? That's what I put on my license plate. I bought it. That's like my prestige car. Like, I get that. But, like, the payment on a BMW is like $500 to $700 a month. I can get 2 rental properties for that. So at the end of the day, like, I'm just not gonna buy Flash over something that could like give me even more location independence and stability than I already have, right? So I'm firmly entrenched in the like one day I'm gonna buy whatever car I want, but for right now, I still keep it modest, even though you can afford one. So that's my own personal outtake. I'm not going to force that on you, but if you said, Lisa, what's your real opinion? I'd be like, yeah, just chill on that. There's going to be a time in which you can afford that $700 BMW, but you have 10 houses, okay? So you're okay, and one of the houses pays for the car. Do you see the mindset on that? So that's sort of where I'm at now, firmly entrenched into it. So I'm going to go to Facebook and see if there's any questions. Hey, GD, how are you doing? Martin Works, also in Hampton. How you doing? Someone else from the 757. Yeah, so no questions from the Facebook. All right, not too much, not too much. All right, guys, so sorry it was buffering. I gotta get like it's a Wi-Fi extender. I got it, but I didn't like program it, and apparently it's buffering. So I will make sure the next time I pop on, it is working and I can boost my router because the house is sort of long. It's a rancher, so when you have a lot of square footage and it's on the same foot, it's like way over there is like the router. So trying to get to my office is a little rough. We got a couple more questions before I go. D. Patterson, is a HELOC a good idea for a down payment on a second home? Yeah, it is. Most people are very comfortable with it. You just have to make sure that whatever the debt repayment is. So say like you have $50,000, right, of home equity line of credit. And say you need 15,000. Yes, use it. Just understand that there's going to be a repayment amount, and you need to keep track of that for not only your debt to income ratio, but also keep track of that to make sure your cash flow is still looking good, right? So, and then just talk about it with the mortgager because they're going to have to include that in the final calculations. Christina A on YouTube says, I would like to purchase multiple properties either in Ohio or Texas. Where do you think is the best way to purchase or find the properties? Christina, that's I gotta talk to you about that. That's too big of a question. Both of those places have worked for my clients. It depends. Where are you? How much money do you have? How much of a renovation project do you want to take on? Right? And so when I work with people, we definitely try to figure out those things and get it streamlined down. So, I mean, like in my training, I'll show you, but like working with me, like doing a strategy session would be the best way just so we can get down into those details to find out because the thinking about like, oh, this is a state, let me buy is not the right way of thinking. The right way of thinking is I live here, I have this much money, what works best for my budget and what I'm trying to go. Okay, and so we just have to talk it. Hey Arthur, sorry you're late. You're okay. Tell us about your house though, your duplex you purchased. Arthur was one of my clients and he's now in the, if you join my monthly membership, he's in the WhatsApp group that we have and he helps everyone. So I love that like everyone that, you know, I teach, they teach, these other people teach. Like it really is playing itself forward. Do you believe in the BRRR method? The BRR is like a buy, buy, repair, renovate, and refinance, right? It is similar to house hacking and it can work. Just be careful. Like some states like Texas, you have to wait a certain amount of months before you can refinance for seasoning. So you just need to make sure of that. Make sure you have the money to get the renovations because someone wanted to refinance and that I worked with and they couldn't refinance because they needed to fix the house for that particular location. So state by state's a little different. And so the money they were going to use to fix it up was going to come from the BRRR, but they couldn't get the money out because it wasn't in rental ready position. So it's okay. I don't like it because there's so much uncertainty that you don't find out until you're already invested. So it doesn't work. Yes. I have found practically that you just need to know, like if you purchased in the state before and you know the rules and you talk to them about, okay, if the house is in X condition, are we still able to tap into the equity? You really need to have those conversations because I've seen people get stuck and didn't have the extra 20,000 that they thought they were going to be able to pull out to do something with it. Right? So I don't like uncertainty and risk. A lot of what I do, we've taken the risk completely, really out of it. So if risk versus no risk, I don't like that. So even though the down payment is 3.5%, the low interest might be higher. It depends. It just depends on your interest rate. I don't necessarily think that the FHA loans are necessarily higher. It might be, but you guys can tell me. RRRODKN. Hey, I got excellent credit, 15 years on the job. All right, money, money, money. Good, good. I wish nothing but the best for you guys. Let me check Facebook before I hop on off. Okay, so I'm gonna hop off. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me. I hope what I said makes sense. We just need to. I know there's a lot of things out there, but we just honestly need to be real practical about who the information's for. So when I come here, I'm definitely going just like, hey, this ain't for you. It might be for them, but let's be clear who it is for so that you can consider it a viable strategy and not just waste or throw money away. So that's what I do. So if you guys want, I do help with people one-on-one. You can sign up for a strategy session. They're $45. But it's really good because we can get into the details of who you are, where you are, what markets you should be investing in, and how to structure it. And one of the things is just like, you just don't know until you know. And I do this every day. So it's just, there's just not a city or state that you can mention that I won't know what's going on in it. There just isn't. I work with people all over the country. Right, Arthur? Right? Up there in what? Rhode Island? And he was on the call. He knows what I'm talking about. Well, that just comes from experience. You can go to my website, affordablerealestateinvestments.com, to do a strategy session. Just doing it. And just doing what? I'm just kidding. Sign up there if you want to. It is $45, but it's worth it. Everyone's been very, very, very happy. Stephanie Hawkins. Yes. I live in PG County, Maryland. Are there areas to invest close by with your method? Yes. Close by and within a couple hours drive. Absolutely. Most of my clients are DC, New York, California, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia. Um, and other in Florida, like Miami. So it's places where they earn a higher income because the cost of living is higher, but like getting into the market where they live is just, I mean, you're looking at $400,000, $500,000, and isn't $30,000 less than the cost of your BMW a lot better, more palatable, easier to get down on your first time trying to invest, or even second, because I work with an experienced investor who has 5 or 6 houses, but they've been buying so high, they come to me just to see like what's going on. You know what I mean? So let's see. All right, guys. Thank you. I know it's Monday. I know it's getting close to Christmas. So Merry Christmas. Make sure you check out any local Kwanzaa celebrations. I love Kwanzaa celebrations. They're so fun. We have singing, dancing, a lot of black vendors. So it's an amazing time. So don't leave that out. Those are actually starting to get more diverse, I've noticed over the years. So there's just as many white people at Kwanzaa celebrations as black people because you do have the singing and the choirs and the church participation. So they're beautiful, beautiful things. Just went to a celebration here in Hampton. So, oh, good. I'd love to talk to you too, Stephanie. And Stephanie says she's going to sign up for your strategy session tomorrow. I might have openings. I have a couple of people, so you might want to get in before it fills up. But yeah, there's definitely openings. And I want to join. Christina, join what? A Kwanzaa celebration? You should. It's less. It's 100% not about the gifts and 100% about community and just being together and like joy. So it's my favorite thing to do. Yeah. Oh, Christina, if you mean a strategy session and I join my Facebook group or Investing Made Easy Monthly, you can just go to my website and click on strategy session. All right. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful night. I love all of you guys. All right. Stay woke.